John.
Good evening, Nigel.
It's a good time to be a weatherman, I guess, really, isn't it? Because
it's good for business. Yes, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, I think there are more people tonight in the pubs talking about the weather than talking about Rishi v Liz.
I think you're probably right.
I'm pretty confident about that. Now, driving in today, coming through sort of the outskirts of London, noticing that the horse chestnut trees are
drooping.
Well, actually turning quite brown.
Yeah.
In places, quite a few leaves coming down. Farmers saying crops are down, etc. It looks and feels a bit like, I mean, I'm old enough, you're probably not, but
I am. I know what you're going to say.
But it does feel and look a bit like 1976, doesn't it?
Sure does. And I was of an age when it was fantastic, sunny, hot days every single day through the summer. I remember bathing in Chichester Harbour and it felt like bathwater. But on a serious note, that is always the benchmark, isn't it? Whenever we have a heat wave, whenever we have a drought, we refer it back to 1976. And
76 was a giant anticyclone, wasn't it?
It was. It was a freak event, if I can use that term. And because it was so unusual, it stood the test of time. And so, with every heat wave, we compare it back. And few, if any, have actually sort of matched up to 76. This summer is going to be a close call, certainly in terms of heat and drought. And certainly the first 6 months of this year are comparable with the first 6 months of 1976, almost as dry.
Now, we were in dire trouble then with water, weren't we? Standpipes and all. We're not in. Things are not as bad as that.
Really good point. And the reason for that, Nigel, was that 76 came off the back of a very hot and sunny 75, actually. 75 was dry. The intervening winter from 75 to 76 was dry. So already groundwater levels, reservoir levels were very depleted as we went into the summer of 76. In contrast, this time around, last year actually was a pretty normal year in terms of rainfall.
It was a terrible summer, wasn't it, last year?
So now we had our dose of wet weather. So reservoir levels, groundwater levels were actually reasonably high when we went into the spring and summer. So that's the reason, actually, we haven't had that many hosepipe bans announced yet by the water companies. And actually, I was listening to somebody from Anglia Water a few days ago, and she was pretty laid back about the possibility of having a hosepipe ban through this summer. So she thinks the real concern is next year. If we now go into a dry autumn and dry winter, then we've got to worry about it.
Hampshire Isle of Wight with hosepipe bans, Kent and Sussex coming in on Friday.
Correct.
And Thames possibly, hence my comment about the 24% leakages at Thames Water.
Although, again, they would argue that there are fewer leakages than there used to be.
Yes, and they do argue that very, very strongly, but the numbers still look to be quite big. So this current heat wave going to go on for the next 4 or 5 days? It's
going to be a voyage of discovery. What we think over the next few days is that we'll peak at around 35, 36, 37 on probably Saturday. But in the run-up to that, most of us actually through England and Wales tomorrow and again on Friday and Saturday will be way up into the 30s. Today, as a point of reference, a few places, Nigel, got up into the low 30s. Most were in the high 20s. It was hot enough. But I think people are going to struggle over the next few days as we go up a notch or two higher.